Hi, this is New to the Street Leadership. I'm Jane King.
I'm Matt Doherty. Each month on New to the Street Leadership, powered by Sector Spider ETFs, we will focus on the leadership journey of our guests and what they learned along the way. We will talk to amazing leaders in both the private and public sectors.
We'll dig deep and we'll speak to accomplished business leaders and discuss how a leadership platform is essential to meet goals and inspire others.
It's brought to you monthly by Sector Spider ETFs. Let's talk leadership.
You could buy a single stock and go all in on one company, or own the sector and invest in keeping good company. Is it so radical to be so rational? Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Go to sectorspiders.com for a prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully. Sector Spiders, the 11 sectors of the S&P 500.
Anson Dorrance is the women's soccer coach at the University of North Carolina. He has one of the most successful coaching records in the history of athletics. The 2023 season marks Dorrance's 47th year as a head coach at UNC, including 45 seasons as a women's head coach, the only head coach in the program's history. He is a 1974 Carolina graduate. He's won a combined 1,093 games at his alma mater while coaching the men and women. And in 2012, Dorrance led Carolina to its 20th NCAA championship, making him the first coach in NCAA history to win 20 NCAA championships in a single sport. So what an amazing resume. Anson, thank you so much for joining us, of course, and Matt Doherty with me today as well. And welcome to our leadership series.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I'm enjoying this because I'm so old. I actually watched Matt as a player.
You don't. You look young.
So. No. Matt was excellent. And so, this is bringing back great memories of all of us that don't just graduate with a degree from the University of North Carolina. We all consider ourselves, of course, basketball experts. So I really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, I'm from Indiana, so I get it.
Then there you go. Absolutely.
Yeah. And by the way, rest in peace, Bobby Knight. Rest in peace, Walter Davis, a great Hoosier with Bobby Knight. And then obviously Walter Davis, a great basketball player at the University of North Carolina. Just tragic that he died so young. Coach Dorrance, as you talk about that, you had a unique position. You coached men and women at the start of your career. And I remember preseason conditioning. We'd be on Fetzer Field running the track, and we were supposed to go around, but we had to run 2:20, so that's a half lap, sprints. And we got to the point where we were so exhausted that we started walking through your men's practice. And I think it was Tony Johnson was one of your star players. And you all were just gracious to let these non-track athletes use your field, your track. And so, yes, there's been a connection with you since, for me, 1980. And it's so good to reconnect. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, Matt, I got to share this. So obviously we would never have any issue with that. You guys were UNC athletic royalty. So we thought it was like being blessed by the King of England when you guys were walking across the field. So that was never an issue for us. But I got to share this story with you. Whenever I'm connected in any capacity with Roy Williams, he reminds me that he was so poverty-stricken when he arrived at UNC. He was on work study. What was his work study job? It was to shag balls for me and my team during games on Fetzer Field. So Roy takes us all the way back to he was out there. A ball would go out of bounds during a game, and you would see Roy scamper over there and grab the ball and bring it back to us and throw it to us so we could throw it into the field again. So trust me, our connections with basketball are all up and down. And yeah, you guys were royalty. I love my connection with you, but also with Roy. So rest assured, I'm certainly looking forward to this conversation.
It sounds like a fundraising opportunity to reenact that. Let Roy shag balls for you program again at, $1,000 a ball or something like that. I think we got something working there.
Matt, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you.
So, Coach, 47 years of excellence. What continues to drive you?
Well, honestly, when I'm, speaking publicly with our alumni, the joke I use is Schadenfreude drives me. Schaden is the German word for damage. Freude is the German word for joy. And Schadenfreude is the incredible excitement I feel after I've defeated the enemy again. Obviously, I'm universally hated. And so I want to continue to torture everyone until I die on the sideline of a Duke victory over at Duke. So for me, I just enjoy torturing everyone to death. And so for me, that's what gets me up in the morning. We are vilified by all of our opponents. And so I want to make sure I continue to torture them until the day I die.
How has the kids changed over that time?
Well, they've changed remarkably. In fact, what's really cool about working at a great university is we have professors across campus that lecture us regularly. And what I've enjoyed recently is Bubba Cunningham, our AD, will bring in the eminent local sociologist, the sociologist emeritus, to tell us, who we're recruiting and who we're coaching. And my favorite one was in 2012. And I will never forget his first two PowerPoint slides. The first one I'll never forget because the date on that slide was 1969. That was my high school graduation year. So here we are. It's my high school graduation year. And of course, I remember those years fondly. This kid's coming home from school with all F's in his report card, and the parents are screaming at the kid. All of a sudden, the date on the slide jumps to 2012, the year he was giving us our lecture. The kid's coming home from school with all F's in his report card, and the parents are screaming at the teacher. So basically, the transition and the difference between the kids that, the way I was raised and the way the modern kid is raised. Of course, the modern kid is not held accountable for anything. The parents, through this delusion that the way they want their kids developed is with the self-esteem movement, they've never made a mistake in their lives. And if there's any sort of issue in their lives, it's someone else's fault. And so that's the sort of climate we're recruiting in now. It's the climate that we're dealing with the parents right now. And of course, at a program like this, I mean, every kid that we recruit isn't just the best player on the team he's coming from and the state he's coming from. Sometimes he's the best player east of the Mississippi or the best player west of the Mississippi. Sometimes it's the best player in the country. And what the parents can't fathom is that this kid's on the bench or not playing maximum minutes. And I got to share this story because Matt's on this with me. And so I think he'll appreciate this. One thing that's really cool about Dean Smith is he loved all of us. I mean, he loved the people he was coaching, certainly, but also his community. And when I was a young coach, he told me, he said, Anson, if you and your staff were bored and want to come watch us practice, please come join us. We will set aside a place for you to sit and all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm all over this. And so I went constantly. He always invited me in. And one day I am there and he is all over this freshman that I thought absolutely sucked. And I'm thinking to myself, why is he wasting his time coaching this kid? I've watched him in the games. He just doesn't go after it. He doesn't compete. And I'm just apoplectic with the fact that Dean Smith is wasting all of his energy on a kid that I thought, wasn't going to help him in the least. And who was that kid? Well, it was Vince Carter. So obviously Dean knew something about this kid that I didn't know. But what was really cool about that environment is all of the kids we recruit, and not just me, certainly Dean Smith and all the other coaches here at the university, we're bringing in basically elite players. But the transition now is becoming more and more difficult because they're entitled. They don't work hard. In basketball, maybe they don't defend. I know in soccer, they don't defend or head. I mean, there are all these different issues that a superstar that scores goal after goal after goal at a high school level thinks that he can continue to do that here without defending, without heading, without doing any of the scut work. And so that's the collision we have right now. The kids are different.
You coached arguably the best women's soccer player of all time in Mia Hamm. How did you coach? What made her special? And how did you coach someone so great?
Well, first of all, everyone's different. And the first thing we all have to appreciate right out of the gate is that when you're leading anyone, there's no formula for it. There's no algorithm. And a lot of it, honestly, Matt, is hit or miss. Basically, Mia was this incredible talent. But inside the middle of her was a kind of insecurity that I had to protect. And so I didn't want to coach her directly because I didn't want her to think that there were pieces missing in her game. So I coached her indirectly, which meant we would run these sessions that were designed for her, and I would never address her face to face. Because what I wanted to make sure happened with her is we didn't kill the quality that made her absolutely unbelievable. And here was the quality. When she got the ball, she wanted to go through everyone and put it in the back of the net. And the upperclassmen, when Mia was a freshman, would be coming into my office saying, she has this no angle position. I am completely unmarked inside 12, and she's shooting from no angle. What is going on? Why do you reprimand us and you don't reprimand her? And I kept telling the upperclassmen, we have a genius here. She's absolutely brilliant. I'm not going to crush the quality that makes her special. The quality that makes her special is she thinks she can beat anyone and she can score every time she gets the ball. I'm not going to kill that in her. Eventually, she's going to figure it out. And her evolution was phenomenal. So her, by the way, even as a freshman, she was scoring 20 goals and 12 assists, and that's incredible. As a sophomore, same sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, in her junior year, the thing happened. She figured everything out. And she goes from like 20 goals and like 12 assists to 32 goals and 35 assists.
Wow.
That is absolutely unheard of. But what's absolutely critical, and this gets back to what I was saying earlier, you don't crush the quality that makes the great ones great. You protect them. Well, in the women's, we just addressed this thing about the culture. A lot of the upperclassmen were jealous of the fact that, I let her do anything she wanted because I thought I had a genius on my hands and I was not going to crush the quality that made her exceptionally special. And I was going to protect her from the chaos of the universe. I recognized who she was and I was going to protect her from everyone. So that's what we have to do. And so that's what made her special.
Well, Coach, I love this stuff. We could go on and on and on and on. We're pairing you, by the way, with Chancellor Guskiewicz on the show. And so we're getting ready to interview him. So we're going to have to wrap this up. Jane, I'll let you put the bow on the gift.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Anson, for your thoughts. Great advice. And I still think you're going to get that yacht in the Mediterranean. I wouldn't give up on that. So thank you so much for joining us.
Jane, I had a good time with both of you. Matt, it's such a pleasure to see you again, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go Heels.
Go Heels.
When a market shift is around the corner, invest in an entire sector and get ahead of the curve. Is it so radical to be so rational? Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Go to sectorspiders.com for a prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully. Sector Spiders, the 11 sectors of the S&P 500.
Guskiewicz is a neuroscientist, academic leader, and concussion researcher, and is the 12th Chancellor of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He gained prominence as a neuroscientist, sports medicine researcher, and Kenan Distinguished Professor at UNC Chapel Hill. And he's one of the principal investigators on the NFL Long Perspective Study of retired NFL players. He is the founding director of UNC's Matthew Gefeller Sports-Related Traumatic Brain Injury Research Center and the Center for the Study of Retired Athletes. And his groundbreaking work has garnered numerous awards and has influenced concussion guidelines in the NCAA and the NFL. And in 2011, he received the prestigious MacArthur Fellowship. And in 2013, Time Magazine named him a game changer, one of 18 innovators and problem solvers that are inspiring change in America. So welcome, Kevin. Great to have you here. And my co-host, Matt Doherty, as always, great to have you here as well.
And a fellow Tar Heel, and I'm representing with my Alexander Julian Tar Heel.
Should have brought my blue
Old
today.
Well buttons on. It's an honor. And we have Anson Dorrance as the other guest on this show, so it's Tar Heel Day.
Great day to be a Tar Heel.
Great day. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Being a chancellor of a major university has some unique challenges. What are some of them that come to mind?
I think one of them is just that there's so many different constituents that we, as a leading global public research university, we're taking on the grand challenges of our time, and there are a lot of opinions around some of those challenges. And we pride ourselves in being the university, of North Carolina, but for the people of North Carolina. So there are a lot of opinions. The taxpayers of North Carolina contribute significantly to the funding for the university, for faculty salaries, for our research, for our facilities and buildings. And so they think their opinions should matter. We have 370,000 living alum, like yourself,
yeah.
and they have opinions. And so we have a very strong faculty council, an employee forum, student government's very strong at Carolina, board of trustees, board of governors, and so a lot of constituents. And so we're one of the challenges is just trying to be sure that everybody knows I'm listening. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, there are tough decisions that have to be made, and I'm an informed decision maker. As I was as a neuroscientist, I'm data driven, and so on some days I come in thinking I'm going to be working on issue A, B, and C, and by 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm pivoting to D, E, and F because something shows up at the door. But I love the job, love the place. Been there for 28 years and about coming up on 5 as chancellor.
How do you stay aggressively neutral? Because you're a human being. You have beliefs. You have a higher power. You grew up a certain way. How do you keep that out of the decision-making process?
So Matt, I'd love to say that we keep politics and ideological leanings out of the university setting, but as you well know, it's not possible in the world we're living in today. And so a lot of those challenges and opinions are sort of, a lot of the challenges are created sometimes by those differing opinions. We have a policy at the university around institutional neutrality, that the leader of the institution should refrain from weighing in and placing his or her opinion on a politically divisive issue. Let's be that place where we bring different viewpoints. We have a wonderful program for public discourse that we started about 6-7 years ago when I was dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and it's been a game changer, I think. We're modeling how to have civil discourse around these contentious issues for our students so that they can go out and be active participants in a thriving democracy. So I'm proud of that, but I will say that it's difficult at times.
What is the model? Because you see on campuses, especially now with all that's going on in Israel, where it doesn't look like it's peaceful protests. We see on, I think, Tulane, there was some violence. So what is the model that you're trying to educate the students on?
Well, as the chancellor at UNC on this particular issue, I've been doing a lot of listening. I've been around meeting with, probably 6, 7, 8 different groups of students that have strong opinions around this. Been meeting with faculty and our employee forum around these challenges. And then I think, First Amendment rights are, it's important that people have the right to express themselves. I told a group of students recently that, while you have the right to say it, it's not always the right thing to say, and you have to think about that. And we want a campus community where we're building community together, where diversity of opinion, diversity of thought, and of everything. There's so many factors around diversity as you think about it, and we want a community where we can come together, solve these big problems, and gain a better understanding, and bring people to the middle around some of these contentious issues.
And that's really what education is about. It's a lot of information, and more. Sometimes some of this is countered by more information. So do you have when you're dealing with this, do you have a North Star that you look at and you're like, okay, here's our mission statement, and here's what I'm always going to look at, and that's going to help me make a decision?
I think that people often talk about values. What are your values? And I think one of ours we have a really great strategic plan, and I point toward it often. That was endorsed by our Board of Trustees back in 2020, just weeks before the pandemic started, but we've stayed true to it. It's called Carolina Next, Innovations for Public Good. And there are a number of things in there. One of them is promoting democracy. So much of what we do is around this topic of gaining a better understanding of the different opinions, such that our graduates can be part of a thriving democracy and active participants in it. And so I think that is part of our North Star. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is critically important, I think, in terms of carrying out our values and living out our mission.
Leadership. I think it's the most important topic that's not really formally taught, and I still think you need to go through the experience. I think it's a practice. Leadership's a practice. It's like playing golf or any other skill, singing, playing a musical instrument. But it's not often taught on college campuses, but I think UNC's introduced it a little bit more of late, as I've learned through the Board of Visitors. What are we doing as a university to improve our future leaders, to teach them the leadership skills that they need?
I think that we are starting to build more of this into our curriculum. There are our business schools has a leadership program. The Department of Athletics has a leadership academy. Some of the other schools have built it into their curricula, but we decided that we need to find a way to do this more broadly across the campus at the undergraduate level. We're going to be building this more into the career advancement initiative that you've been a part of and hearing a lot about. And I think that it comes with practice, to your point.
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite authors, and the book Outliers is one of my favorites. And I had a chance to meet him just a year or two after the book came out. And he talks about the importance of repetition and practice, and I totally agree with you. I would think as a coach, you think repetition is important.
Yeah. Coach Smith, I think of Coach Smith, you got to do this drill over and over again. Roy Williams, the drills, repetition, 100%.
But it comes through repetition and providing opportunities for our students to witness it. I mentioned earlier about our program for public discourse, for us as leaders to model civil discourse around a contentious issue or topic. That in itself teaches them leadership. It's the practice part. We talked forever about Carolina being a place where we take pride in being, the liberal arts is important. We're one of the few large universities that still has a requirement, a lot of liberal arts courses in that general education curriculum. So it's the breadth across the disciplines, it's the depth within your chosen discipline, but more recently we've added the practice piece. And this is study abroad, directed research, and the internship experience. I think a lot of leadership skills are developed through those practical experiences. So it's breadth, depth, practice.
Practice, and it's never ending.
That's right.
So you talk about Malcolm Gladwell, practice. Where do you go for who's your mentor? I think people in leadership need to have a personal board of directors that's not emotionally tied to the university, to their job, right? So they can be vulnerable. Where do you go to grow? Who do you lean on as a mentor, or who's on your personal board of directors?
Sure. I think, to me, I mentioned trust earlier. You have to really find those people that you trust most, that you know that there's no hidden agenda with whatever you're going to ask them. It's about helping me get to the right place on an issue. My wife, Amy, is incredible. I mean, I come home every evening and she's there and she can tell when it's been a bad day. You want to have dinner first or talk about
a therapy session?
Therapy session. And so she's incredible. So family is really important to me. And I know it is to you, as we've gotten to meet your family.
Yes, thank you.
And but it's also having those few people on your team. My chief of staff is incredible. I've been fortunate to have 2 chiefs of staff. I moved one into a different leadership role, and I now have a chief of staff that's been with me for about coming up on 2 years, and you just have to, that person, you have to trust that you can tell them anything, and they can know that they're going to have to tell you some of the tough things that you may not want to hear. And then outside of the university, I certainly have some mentors that my mentor, a graduate mentor at University of Virginia, where I did my doctoral work, is somebody that I pick up the phone and call often, and will ask him for advice on an issue, because he's been through many of the same challenges and opportunities that I've had. But it's, those advisors are the ones that will help you find the opportunities on the other side of every challenge. And I am a big believer in that. If you talk to anybody on my team, they'll say, all right, how many times did Kevin say that on the other side of every challenge there are 3 or 4 opportunities? It's our job to go and latch onto those. But I'm a believer in that. And you have to have 3 or 4 people in your life, and I'm fortunate that I do, and I rely on them often.
I love that motto. That's optimism. You don't hit adversity, you go through adversity, and it makes you better, makes you stronger. I'm proud of you as the leader of my alma mater, and my daughter's alma mater, and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Jane, I'll let you put the bow on this.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. Great and interesting comments about education, and thank you, Matt, as always.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Appreciate
really
it
enjoyed
very
it.
much. Yeah.
There are many ways to buy the S&P 500, but only one way allows you to own the sectors you like best. Sector Spider ETFs. Is it so radical to be so rational? Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Go to sectorspiders.com for a prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully. Sector Spiders, the 11 sectors of the S&P 500.